Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. The day that Twitter died. No, I'm just kidding. It's not totally dead. But it is broken beyond shit right now. Hi again. Hello, I'm your host, Katie. And joining me, as always, is the illustrious Clay. Clay, how are you doing today?
What an intro. Like literally an hour before, if not 2 hours before we jumped on here, Twitter just exploded. And not in the way of like everybody jumped on Twitter, but everybody got kicked off of Twitter. Um wow. We were trying to like jump on and see whose tweets and who could still message who. The entire GUA, well, not the entire GUA, but most of the GUA is basically scattered right now. We are trying to uh, find each other. I did the whole GIF on the Discord, like, all right, sound off, who's dead, you know? So I think this is actually really hilarious. Um, and I think,
especially,
well, go ahead, go
especially
ahead.
considering this Twitter made a code change at the end of the day and then just disappeared. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. It appears they made the change to give you the long tweets, and then that broke some other shit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, so much so. One thing that I noticed very, very quickly is that I was only seeing updates from people with check marks. So that was interesting, but also just for the fact that like for us, uh, we can't see, or especially Katie, she has notifications off, so she's not seeing anything. But we can still message each other on the in the direct messages, but they don't show up for everybody else. And the only way you could read them is if you have the previews open on your notifications on your phone. So it's a wild time right now. Really, really funny. But I think actually Brent saw the writing on the wall because like just 2 days ago, I got a notification on Mastodon that Brent was following me. I was like, oh, look at that. That's weird. And then now it breaks. I was like, oh, look at that. Now it's time to use Mastodon again. Which is weird because iPhone has saved my password, so I don't have to remember how to log in, but I have to remember how to log in if I want to use it on my desktop because currently the desktop is only signed in on Star Wars Alliance's account. So I can share the show via Mastodon today, and I think maybe I will do that actually. Um but yeah, today is not a huge news week. Something from last week we're going to be talking about that of Star Wars Visions. Got some other news tidbits, but we got the big mid-season finale of Bad Batch season 2, um, which is really cool because it's of course 2 episodes because it is a two-parter and it very much fits a very large narrative story that this is telling in the Star Wars universe, and I like it. I like it a lot, and I want to talk more about it. But Katie, where do you want to go as far as our first news topic?
well, I guess y'all, you know the drill. Eight podcasts, 7 days a week. You can check us all out there. You can also check us out on Patreon, uh, where we have 2 tiers. Obviously, y'all know the drill. But the February patron call-in show is coming up soon. So y'all make sure you're on the $5 tier for that. So there's that. Ads on the podcast. Claire, I will give you a warning before those ads are to occur, but just so you know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, nor how many times you hear the same ad in the same episode, nor how loud those ads are, so that we're going to help you prepare those volume levels. And as always, with social media just utterly collapsing, appreciate if you could give us a rate or review on your favorite podcatcher of choice, because those reviews help put us into the feeds of other listeners who may not be following us on social media. With that,
Well,
uh,
that does
okay,
remind
let's
me.
say,
Just want to, I want to shout it out before, uh, anything else goes awry. let us know your thoughts on the mid-season finale of Bad Batch. Uh,
Yes.
and we will talk about it next episode via the Star Wars Alliance hotline. Of course, that number is 1-830-538-4828. I will say that again if you're watching on YouTube. You can see it scrolling here right at the bottom. 1-830-538-4828. I won't be answering live on the show, but you can text or leave a voicemail and we will listen to it or read it on the next episode and we will talk about it.
All
So
right.
where are we going?
So
What do we want to do?
I want to save visions for last. Let's save
Okay.
visions for last. Um, and let's go ahead and get this one away. The, the new book that was announced. The first announcement that we've had for a non-High Republic Disney publishing book. Um, and it is entitled Crimson Climb, and it will be discussing it will basically cover Kira during Solo, and it will cover like her span in the 3 years between when Han is doing his Imperial service and everything. This book is supposed to come out October 10th of this year. So not a whole lot coming from Disney Publishing this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um other than High Republic. High Republic is there, obviously. Super grateful for that. I really wish that the author for this book was not E.K. Johnston. I really wish it wasn't E.K. Johnston. I
You
really wanted to see Ray Carson come back and write this, or Muir Lafferty, who did the solo novelization. I thought they both hit Kira incredibly well. However, EK has really wanted this book for a while. And as we've heard the editors say for both Disney Publishing and for Random House Worlds, with the way fans react to Star Wars, it's really hard to get authors to agree to come write a Star Wars.
and I get that. I totally get that. We you sent this to our Star Wars Alliance chat when Twitter was actually working, and you said I've been wanting this book, but I don't know if I want this book. Or no, you said
So,
you said I've been wanting E.K. Johnson to come back to Star Wars, but probably not on this book.
so the biggest issue with EK's writing, and I really enjoy her Padme books. I think she's also a very good ally when it comes to LGBTQ plus writing. Um, she had a person with their pronouns in Queen's Hope. She also introduced the first transgender clone trooper that was actually confirmed. The problem is that EK runs into a lot of racist stereotypes and
Yeah.
doesn't actually do a whole lot of research when it comes to getting things right when you're putting somebody of a specific race in a book. For instance, Sister was the name of the transgender clone trooper. Um, and EK had a picture of her commissioned because she wanted to show her off and everything. And the stormtrooper had cornrows, and cornrows aren't something that a Maori person would wear. So she got a lot of heat for that. And in her other Star Wars books, things do come down to that. But most of the critique she gets is in her non-Star Wars books, if that makes sense. A lot
Yeah.
of stereotypes, doesn't really look like she has a sensitivity reader when it comes down to writing people of other races. So that's the main critique with her. And the thing that worries me with this one is that Crimson Dawn is a gang. And I just worry that there's going to be way more racist stereotypes in this one because we're opening ourselves up to that. So
Oof.
that's my biggest fear.
And that is clearly something that I mean, you said it yourself. Like, she was prone to have these things in other previous works. So, like, that's not cool. And that is a little worrisome. Um, but I I don't know if I necessarily, again, this almost comes into the really stupid excuse or complaint that a lot of people have when it comes to additions to a franchise. Who's asking for this story? And the problem here is this is not the Kira story that I want. I want more Kira, but this
Mhm.
isn't the Kira story that I want. The Kira story that I
And
want is what has been happening with Crimson Dawn, and more so, I want an addition to that in live action. Like
right.
that's what I ultimately want.
And people are saying, "Oh, this prevents a Kira show from actually happening." I think so because Emilia Clarke is actually getting older. So it makes sense if you're going to bring Crimson Dawn in at some point later on. Oh, okay, she's available. Kira's kind of aging with Amelia in that sense.
Yeah,
Now, the other thing that could be coming is that the Hidden Empire released issue 3 today of the comic. Issue 5, I believe, is supposed to be May. And so Kira could die at the end of this. She faces off with the Emperor and Darth Vader. We've seen it in preview images. And she could fully, completely die at the end of this. So that could be where they're leading to, but they want to capitalize on Kira's storytelling. And so that's why they're going with this. I also think this is a very smart choice because this opens up the explanation to how did Kira get the knowledge that she did. We could see a lot of inner workings with Maul, with Dragon Voss, and just kind of see how does Kira become who she is in War of Bounty Hunters, Crimson Reign, and Hidden Empire.
yeah,
So it continues the line of storytelling. Though I don't disagree with you. I want the what happened after the original trilogy Kira.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Just because, like, one thing that we haven't, like, we've gotten a little bit of, but I feel like, ooh, that's, I almost said something very stupid. Because again, it's something that I would like to see, but again, very tricky on how they would do it because a very important actor is no longer with us. But like the fact that like there's stories of Kira and Leia, and like we never get to see that, you know?
yeah.
That's a little disappointing. Uh, Tripped myself there. I was like, "Oh yeah, wouldn't it be really cool if this happened?" I was like, hold on a second, Clay." Um, but again, I think they could. In all honesty, how would you feel about this if they? Oh, I kind of already know how you would feel about this because it's animation. Therefore, your favorite person in Lucasfilm would probably be the helm of it. But just like that of the Bad Batch, making a Crimson Dawn animated show.
Well, we saw that in at the end of the Clone Wars that Maul was starting his Crimson Dawn
Yeah,
endeavors. So I think it's totally possible. I think it's totally possible. I don't necessarily know if I would hate it. It would just all depend. So
very true. Um, as far as like this, I will say this: we can't say much about the book, but we are both. I don't know how far along you are, but I have a bad habit of when I am off of work. I have a really bad habit of not doing anything. So I am only on chapter 6, but we do have Star Wars Jedi Battle Scars, the tie-in between uh Fallen Order and Survivor. Um Me and Katie, like I said, can't say much about it because this one does have a hard embargo. Uh,
Yeah.
but I will say this very vague comment towards Katie because she knows what I'm talking about. I feel like this book will be in the same vein as Battle Scars. You know what I'm saying?
I could see that.
Considering what we have been talking about in text and how, you know,
I will disagree, but that's because I've read EK's books before. So I've read some of her non-Star Wars books and I've read her Star Wars books.
okay, and I and
So,
I don't have that much experience with E.K. Johnson. True.
um, though I have finished Battle Scars. I finished it last night. So
What?
I know I
I
was
get it.
texting
I
Clay.
get it. Katie was like, "Oh, I'll stay on par with you, so that way we can keep having this conversation." I was like, "Cool." And now she jumped way ahead of me.
In my defense, you've been on chapter 6 since Saturday.
That is also true. I will be finishing it before Saturday. Because I'm pretty sure Katie and I have planned on recording sometime
Sunday.
this weekend. So I definitely have to for sure. But I until and like until I actually read it, I'm a little indifferent about this book, but I am willing to be proven wrong on my expectations. You know?
I am too. I'm still gonna read it because I really enjoy Kira's character, but I'll approach it with a careful heart in mind. Um, I think I would have rather EK have stuck with doing something like Sabe, or sticking maybe in the Nabooian area because I really like what she does there. So, just stuff to take into consideration. I still think the Padme trilogy is worth reading. Um, obviously for a certain audience and everything. But there is a summary up or a synopsis, excuse me, for um Crimson Climb on Amazon. And again, this is supposed to be released October 10th, and it will cover the time period between the solo prologue and um, Kira reuniting with Han on Dryden Voss's ship in Solo. So if you're interested in that story, then you can go ahead and pre-order and everything. So
Very nice.
the next bit of news we have is for the Acolyte. And it's fairly short. But we found out that the Acolyte writers room, which showrunner Leslie Headland made sure included people who didn't know anything about Star Wars. They the writers room, oh my gosh, words. The writers room included House of the Dragons Charmaine de Grate. Now how do you feel about this?
I am excited about this because just like that of currently the Bad Batch, um, the House of the Dragon show spinoff of Game of Thrones was very uh what's the right word? Their viewer count kept rising throughout the miniseries. Throughout the first season, it gained viewership with every episode. Um, and I with the House of the Dragon, there was always people talking about it after each episode. Of course, Katie did her review with her husband with
Shameless plug.
those episodes, so go check those out. But yeah, I believe that this is a good thing. The part of made sure that the writers knew nothing about Star Wars is always concerning to me. This is not new news to us. We have heard this before about this writers room, but it is a bit concerning. I think that it will be different in a good way and in a bad way. Uh, but we ultimately do not know until we actually see the show.
Excuse me, I took a bite of cookie. Um, yes, and um, De Degrate wrote the fifth episode for House of the Dragon, which was the last episode to feature the younger cast. So it was the last one with Melody Alcock involved and included the pre-wedding for her and her husband to be. I don't know. My mind's not on House of the Dragon right now. But it was a pretty good episode and it included some really good scenes. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what she has brought to the table for Star Wars: The Acolyte. Now, Visions.
Visions, I am very excited to talk about. This kind of just popped up out of nowhere on the day that it did because Twitter started popping off even before I even woke up. Um, Snell, Katie, Chris, everybody was really jumping on top of this. But this came out February 2nd, 6 days ago. It says here Star Wars Visions Volume 2 release date, animation studios, and episode titles have been announced. Lucasfilm has announced that Star Wars Visions Volume 2 will be arriving on Disney Plus May 4th. On that day, Katie texted me, "Hey, can you make sure to request off on this day?" Da, da, da. Boom, right then and there, requested it off. And my job has said,
Because
I could,
it's a
I
different day than we typically will record.
yes,
So
yes, but more importantly, my job has said, as long as you request off anywhere from 90 to 120 days in advance, you can get that day off. May 4th is on a Thursday, and so I am totally down with watching and then doing a mini review of the show, of course, before Marvel Alliance would be jumping on that later that night. Uh, but I'm going to go ahead and just read off. It says here, it looks like each episode will be released at the same time, just like Volume 1.
mhm.
And the titles, I'm only going to read the title of the episode and the region that it's from. Episode 1 is titled
I would
Sith.
give the studio.
Oh yes, Studio L. I don't know how to pronounce this. Sorry for
Giri.
for my Spanish, but Giri. El Giri is from Spain. It's titled Sith. The next is titled Screecher's Reach. The studio is Cartoon Saloon in Ireland. The next one is In the Stars. Punk Robot Chile. After that is I Am Your Mother. Man, that sounds like the Dr. Seuss book. Are you my mother?
Well, it is Aardman who did Wallace and Gromit.
That is
I'm
true.
so excited for this one.
Yeah, Aardman is one of the names that I was not expecting to be on this
No.
list. So I think that is very, very cool. The next one is Journey to the Dark Head, Studio Mir from South Korea. The next one is The Spy Dancer, Studio La Cocheta from France. The next one is The Bandits of Golak. It is 88 Pictures in India. And the last two, I believe, is The Pit from the Art Shitagio from Japan, uh, and Lucasfilm. So that's interesting. So they get, I think this is going to be the big one because Lucasfilm is actually involved in that one. Uh, and then the last one is titled Ayu's Song, and this is from South Africa's Triggerfish. So I'm not going to read the descriptions because I want to be just as surprised as I was in Volume 1. We really enjoyed a lot of Volume 1's episodes. We did a review of each one, and we also ranked them. So if you want to listen to that, go check it out on the GUA and Star Wars Alliance feeds. But I do have to ask you this, Katie.
Yeah.
Just by the title and the possible popularity of the studios, do you think that any one of these are going to get the same treatment as that of uh oh man, what was episode 1? Of
The Duel.
Visions. The Duel, yes. And get its
I
own book.
I would love to see it happen. I am a little concerned because with the Ronin book, we got that announcement basically days after Vision season 1 was announced. So I just I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe it'll be Random House World is kind of waiting to see um if an author reacts to a specific episode and sees what they can do, because I know Emma, they kind of approached her because of her background in Japan, but because these studios are from all over the world, we could be seeing just they're waiting to kind of see who's affected by what, and then we
Yeah.
may get an announcement for a book later on. But I dearly hope so. I loved Ronin. I thought it was such a well done book. And I just hope that we can continue to see that. I would love to see people expand the storylines. I know, like the Nine Lightsabers, they talked about, oh, there's more to this. There's the option for like feature film length and everything. But if there's like not that option, it would be nice to see if authors could get the chance to expand on those stories. We
Yeah.
have Dr. Mad Studio in the chat. He's from Britain. Hello.
Yeah, he says, "Hello, Hammerheads. Greetings from Britain." That's a reference from the Rebel Hammerhead ship that rammed into one of the Star Destroyers in Rogue One. He says, "I'm up to speed on Bad Batch, so don't worry about spoilers with me." We will be getting to that discussion soon. In regards to Visions and Ronin and everything else, I need my Ronin sequel. Where's the sequel
I
book to
know.
that? Like, that was such an eye-opening experience because it was literally it was like experiencing Star Wars for the first time, because there was so many different aspects to that universe of Star Wars. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, Ronin is like the opening of a multiverse for Star
Yeah.
Wars, which is absolutely insane to think about. And you could think of Legends as like a multiverse also. But like this is it was a legitimate piece of Star Wars that didn't carry anything to do with Star Wars other than the fact that they held lightsabers. They called the Force something completely different. And like there was so many cool aspects of that book uh that I need more of it. I need more uh and oh man, now I feel like I want to listen to that book again.
I
It
know, that's
was
what I'm
so
thinking. I'm
so
like,
good.
I wanna go read it again. Oh
uh
my gosh.
but
Okay,
yeah,
that since
really,
I'm
really
done with
excited
battle
about
scars, I
Visions.
might do that.
No, because we both know you're gonna nosedive right into Cataclysm 2 months in advance. We've that's no secret. We've already told everybody we have the copies already, and Katie was over here like, oh, what am I like? My poor heart. Like, what am I supposed to do? I just have too much to enjoy right now. Like, Jesus.
We are blessed when it comes to Star Wars, y'all. We are blessed. Um, no, it so the way I work, y'all, I listen to an audiobook during the day. And so I have a to be read on my Kindle, on Audible, and then I have like physical copy to be read piles. And so I could be reading from any one of those piles at the same time.
Uh, Mad Studios is asking us how we're doing. We're doing great. He's saying that not much for him to do in the winter. He has a small pet project that has kept him going this winter, and he's going to his first convention this year on March 4th. That's very cool. I remember my first convention.
I
Um,
still have not been to a convention. So,
what?
you know,
I mean,
but nothing
granted,
nothing ever happens in South Carolina.
but you have such big, like you have two big conventions that go to North Carolina all the time. Like, it's just a small little travel thing for you. Again, it's a lot to ask. There's gas prices and everything else, but they're pretty big, and I think you could definitely make
I'm
one.
about 4 hours to Charlotte. So,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's like nothing compared to me in Texas, where like everything is 17 hours away and I'm still in Texas, you know? But who knows? I love going to conventions. Nowadays, it's a little less because of everything that had to do with COVID and everything. I'm a little bit more hesitant on it. Uh, but yeah, I'm really surprised you haven't been to like a Star Wars convention or anything.
I think it was because, like, I got involved in fandom, like, while I was in college, and then, basically got, like, straight into working because I started working at the job that I got when I graduated during my senior year of college. So I was basically working
I
full
keep
time.
forgetting Katie was basically taught like she wasn't allowed to be a kid.
Don't let my mom hear you say that.
Oh man. Moving on. Visions really excited about it. We are totally excited about this. It
Which
is,
one are
of
you
course,
excited for? You asked me,
I
which one are you excited for?
I'm probably most excited for Sith. This is from Spain. Spain holds a very special place in my heart. My father's side of the family is from Spain. I have a family crest from Spain, a literal family shield that I hope to
Ooh,
get forged in the future. My grandmother has a picture of the shield, and I want to take that picture to Spain one day and have a shield actually like formed and molded and stuff. I think it would be really, really cool. Uh, but I am really excited to see what that is. And it's funny that it might be the first episode because we're dealing like first volume one of Visions dealt with Sith, red lightsabers and everything else. And now again we're doing Sith and dark side very first episode. I love it.
this might not be the exact order that everything's going.
Well, and that's what I said. It
So,
might just the way that
oh, okay,
the it dropped. It's I would be surprised if it was in this exact order.
gotcha. Well, y'all, if you want to pop in the chat and tell us which episode of Visions season 2 you're excited for, go for it and we'll share it. So, but I think, are we ready to move to the Bad Batch mid-season
Well,
episodes?
really quick, I don't think we did mention this, but Jedi Survivor has a
Oh, yes.
9-minute video showing gameplay over on IGN on their YouTube channel. So go check that out if you are interested. I'm probably going to watch this later. I still haven't decided whether I want to experience everything for the first time myself. So I may hold back
I didn't
on
watch it.
this footage. Uh, so I'm I've been in the mood for Star Wars games because, like I said, we have been reading Battle Scars. So I'm definitely prepared for this game. But this is I feel like 9 minutes is just a little too much. If it was just like a 2 to 3 minute gameplay, kind of explaining one aspect or a feature of the game, I'd be okay with it. But 9 just seems like a little, excuse me, too much right now.
Yeah.
But that is it for the news. Oh wait, no, we forgot one more thing. Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Mandalorian. Mandalorian season 1, episode 1, the pilot will be airing on FX, ABC, and Freeform on February 24th for 1 day only. I think this is a very interesting thing for them to be doing. Uh, do you think it has anything to do with how they did this technically with Andor last year?
I think so. I know Disney had, I guess, their quarterly business report meeting today. Um, and so they said that Disney Plus actually lost, what was it, 2.5 million subscribers in
Somewhere
Q1.
around there, yeah.
Remember, y'all, Q1 for Disney is actually October to December of the previous year. And so I know people were like not originally excited for Andor, but it got huge critical acclaim, which is why they moved it the first two episodes to go on cable. Um, but then it's also like your holiday time, so you're spending more time with family, probably less time watching things. So just kind of keep that in mind when looking at those subscriber numbers. But I think this is a completely smart move. The Mandalorian was the first thing after the sequel trilogy to be released for live action, so it kind of hit everything running, and the first episode's super good. So just kind of keep that in mind. Um, I I don't necessarily understand though, if you've got a streaming service, why you're dropping it on cable, because you want people to go to it, but I guess that's the purpose of just releasing one episode. So,
Yeah. I think that it is smart to be introducing these shows to the masses, but some people just may not have this streaming service for a reason, whether they can afford it or not.
mhm,
That is something of importance when it comes to, like, I understand everybody's trying to make their money, right? That is, money makes the world go round. But I think you can't expect everyone to just be like, okay, Disney Plus, Disney Plus on top of everything. Um,
yeah,
you're seeing a lot of people have this discussion over Netflix of, okay, there's specific things that I like to watch on Netflix. I will watch them, then cancel it, and then wait until the next season is either released or announced, and then subscribe to it again. And I don't think, or I do think that Disney should probably uh be prepared for those types of people being attached to Disney Plus. Now, of course, with the larger IPs like Star Wars and Marvel, I think the masses will stay on Disney Plus because that type of content is year round. We're seeing it. We saw, you know, 2021 and 2022. It was crazy. The entire schedule for the GUA was full. So uh so they have our money for sure. But I do think more people are getting smarter with the idea of how these streaming services work, how these shows are released, and people just may want to save money every few months or so. So you may lose subscribers, but you may gain those exact same subscribers, the next month or a couple months down the line.
yep, completely.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the Bad Batch episodes 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. I think it's 7 and 8 of the Bad Batch season 2. Uh, we have the clone conspiracy. Part is basically part 1, and part 2 is truth and consequences. So, what is your thoughts on, for one, minor spoiler for Clone Conspiracy, not a single member of our Bad Batch was in this first episode today. How'd you feel about that? How'd you feel about the story overall? Give it to me. Like, what are your thoughts?
This was these were the two episodes and one more that's coming down the road. Where when we kind of did the non-spoiler review at the beginning of the season, I was jumping all over and was like, okay, how do I talk about this? How do I talk about this? Um, I love Chuchi so much. Um, I think she's fantastic. I loved getting to see Coruscant again. I think this is a really well played out episode that continues the Fives conspiracy arc that we got in the lost season of the Clone Wars.
Mhm.
It's really well done. All of the animation is superb, looks really artistic. Um, and I think this is a really good story move, and the story will start to progress quite quickly through the remaining episodes of the season. And now y'all remember I have not seen the last two episodes of the season, so I don't know where everything is completely going. Um, but there is that. So just kind of keeping in mind with that, because it's a two-parter, I don't necessarily care that the Bad Batch isn't in the first episode, because I think they just split it in two just to maintain oh, they're all less than 30-minute
Yeah.
episodes. When realistically, this should have just been put together and it's one episode.
Yeah.
So, what
I
did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I love a good like mystery conspiracy dark tale, and that's what this was. There was the mystery assassin. There was like again, this whole thing is spinning out of what happened at the end of last season with the destruction of Camino. And I'm gonna feel like Kirkland and Taylor over here. But like one thing that I love about Star Wars that we have heard many of people say shouldn't be in Star Wars, but it totally is all what Star Wars is about, is I love the politics of Star Wars,
Yep.
right? And this showed probably some of the most political wavering in any of the Star Wars franchise, and I loved it. I want more
Mhm.
of that room. I want the bickering. I want the slander. I want the booing. I want the voting. I want all of these things, because the crazy thing as a viewer of this universe and knowledge of our own political climate, like Palpatine is the emperor. He is the bad guy. He is the space Hitler of Star Wars. And you know that Senator Organa is there. He has to play nice because of course the rebellion is building, right? You know at this point it is not in masses at this point. There is still a lot of things that have to happen, because at this point even Andor the show is probably what, like,
14 years away at this point.
yeah, it's still very much not even there. So, like, I thought about this while I was watching the show, like, what happens to the political climate in Coruscant after the rebellion? Like, it is it non-existent? Do they fight amongst themselves? Like, do Nazis just argue against other Nazis? This is like it's weird. Like,
Well, so remember in A New Hope, they go to the very end and the Senate's dissolved in A New Hope.
yes.
So, and Leia and the Empire was like, "Oh, the Senate's just puppets, like for what's going on."
Yeah.
So we're gonna look at this slowly becoming the Senate's more and more useless, and that's when Mon Mothma turns, is when she has the massacre that happens, and kind of goes out on her own and leaves the Senate, whereas Bale and some of the others are still involved. um One of the senators in these episodes is actually one of the senators that's in Rogue One. um I think it's Senator Palma.
Is it
um
the bank?
African American woman with the
Oh, okay.
hood.
Yeah, yeah, yes, 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 yes. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
she was unnamed in Rogue One, and now she gets her name and everything. So,
I I just really love this part of the show. Um, it it builds tension, and like you said, kind of fast forwarding to the end of the next episode, Truth the Consequences, just really quickly. you know, these people are all fighting on the overall theme or conflict of these episodes is, should clones have rights? Some people see them as a military asset. Some people see them as actual individual beings. They all have their own mindset. They have their own thoughts. They have their own heartbeat. Like, these are living, breathing individuals that should have their own rights. And things happen, and we will get into the specifics of it. But the important thing that it overall comes down to is, like you said, oh, the Senate is basically non-existent because the Emperor just pulls out the FU card. He's just like, oh, I veto this, I veto this, I'm making this decision. And it's just like all of this bickering for no reason. Like all of this fighting and yelling and all of this stuff. And it doesn't even freaking matter because
Yep.
Emperor Palpatine is going to have his way because he's going to rule the galaxy under his fist. And it's just wild. This was like, and again, we know what's going to happen, right? We know
Mhm.
that this is going to lead up to A New Hope. This is going to lead into, you know, eventually Return of the Jedi, A Force Awakens. We know Palpatine's story, but just watching it as it happens, like you're like, there's no way the bad guy could win. But that's what
Yep.
all of Star Wars is almost nearly about, is about Palpatine winning for a majority of the time. And it's so frustrating.
And it's because he plays chess. He kind of gets the different perspectives from the Senate and goes, okay, well, this is what is ideally going to happen, but what happens if this gets revealed or this happens? And he's able to come up with a politically correct statement that basically goes, oh, okay, I can't believe somebody did this. But the other people were um co-conspirators. So therefore, we definitely need this. And it's kind of creepy because he literally comes out of the woodwork and just has this speech ready to go. And Ian McDermott killed this. I wonder how much money he got for this
So
5-minute
so I
speech.
will be completely honest. The music played, his little chamber opened,
Mhm.
and you just see him. And I'm like, is he actually going to talk? Is he actually going to talk? Or is his right hand going to be the one that relays the message?
Yep.
But again, we heard Ian McDermott say, oh, I'm working on another project. This was his other project.
Yep.
And his voice is still, I am so amazed at how old this actor has been or is getting. And he still has that cold, dead, croaking voice of Emperor Palpatine that he's had for so many years. And it just
This dude's
it
78 years old.
yeah, he is getting up there. By the way, I don't know if you knew this. I don't remember if it was yesterday or today, but John Williams recently had a
Mhm.
birthday. He is 91 years old.
Yep. Happy birthday, Mr. Legend.
Yes. Um but yeah, just hearing McDermott's voice and just being so cold and like just dead ice, like it hurts for you to be like, yes, we got one up on the bad guys. They were able to get the stuff and all of this. Uh, but going back to the first episode, because I know that's all in the last episode, and we'll talk about it. Uh, but the first episode of the Clone Conspiracy, such a proper name, also. For all you Marvel fans out, I know that you love this title. Um, but the fact that like somebody's out there fighting for the clones' rights, I love that so much. Um,
I love that it was Chuchi
yeah.
because I have kind of been wondering what happened to Chuchi, and I'm seriously worried. Like, what if she ends up dead after this? Um,
Well, I had the very like cold and heartbreaking realization that like what if the Bad Batch overall, I don't know if they're getting a season 3, but like when they finally decide to end the Bad Batch, is it going to end like Rogue One? Are they all just going to go out like swinging, you know?
I mean, at some point, yes.
That's heartbreaking. What happens to Omega, you know? But I really enjoyed this first episode. We get uh shoot. I know it starts with an
We get
S.
Rex.
Oh, well, we get Rex, but the one that actually was the witness to
Slip.
Slip. Yes, Slip is the one that is hiding, and Admiral Rampart is like looking for him and everything. And god
Oh
damn.
shit. Oh shit, my Twitter DMs are back. Sorry.
Freaking Rampart, man. I hate this character so much. And I was wondering what was happening to this character because again, we know the way Star Wars is. There's characters that we haven't seen in the movies before. We haven't seen in any other shows. So it's like, okay, your story has to end at some point. When is that story going to end? And I didn't think it was going to be this episode, but it looks like it might.
Yeah, because you were talking about him, and I was like, "Did you? I know nothing."
Well, no, it's because of course he is stating like, oh, we can't keep the clones because it's costing us way too much money, and we have heard about some defective clones and all of the he's throwing all of the excuses out to just like throw away the clones and the fact that like, hey, because of the devastating storm on Camino, we're eventually going to run out of clones. We need this recruitment act. We need this new bill to be passed so we can get more soldiers out there to help the empire. That's his whole thing. And little do we know, this is the literal like cause of the introduction to the stormtroopers. But I was like, Rampart, you're gonna get your comeuppance, and like I hope I'm there to see it. I swear to God, it's just like
Yep.
but the inclusion of Rex was very, very surprising to me because when Slip eventually like he goes inside like the lower levels of Coruscant and he is talking on a comms link and he says, "Oh, I heard you can help me. Like I'll meet you." Da da da. Da. I thought he was talking to the Bad Batch. I legitimately thought he was talking to the Bad Batch. Um, but we see Rampart orders this assassin to get rid of any evidence that ties him to Camino, while also killing Chuchi. And when this meetup between Chuchi and Slip actually happened, Slip is like, "What's going on? Like, why are you here? If you can find me, then they can find me." Which means
Yep.
not only am I in danger, but you're in danger. Shit hits the fan, and Slip is shot. Chuchi's guards are shot, and freaking Rex to the rescue here.
He
I
saves her
absolutely
again.
loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But the opening of the helmet, were you expecting there to be a
Mhm.
clone?
I was totally expecting it to be a clone.
Well, I mean, other than the fact that you've seen the episode.
No, no, I was totally expecting it to be a clone because I was like, why would he rope in somebody else who's outside the Imperial structure when he can literally just order a clone to do it? And he was involved with Camino at the very end, which means he had direct access to how they were manipulating clones. The clone looked young. And
Yes.
due to that fact, you just go, oh, okay, wipe your number, elite
I was going to
clone
say,
force
I don't
unit,
think he had a name.
assassins.
I don't think he had a
Yeah.
name, which is
The,
like, it made like the end of the episode so cold and disturbing because there's a moment where Rex has him like in a cell, tied up, with Chuchi, and they're like, "Okay, we want answers. Why did you do this? What's going on? What does that make you? Who are you called?" All these different questions, and he says, "I'm a believer," and he crushes down on what I thought was a cyanide pill, but in the Star Wars universe, they don't have cyanide. So what they do is they crunch something that literally fries their brain, and electricity just goes all throughout their mouth and skull. Absolutely terrifying. But that brings us to truth and conspiracy. And how did you feel about this episode with our
I thought
actual team of the Bad Batch?
it was a really good episode, and I feel like Omega learned a ton about life outside of her general group. Um, and was able to kind of see the galaxy for a whole because she gets to go with Chuchi on like some senatorial missions, gets to meet the disgraced Kaminoan senator. And I thought that was an interesting tie-in. I think it had to happen, but I still thought it was interesting. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good episode. They do confirm in this episode that the clone's registration number had been completely wiped. He didn't have one. So off books, um, and everything. But I think this showcases a lot about what the Empire is doing and how much of a threat it actually is. So,
Yeah. I
because like we were talking about that Palpatine speech at the end, it's completely manipulated the situation. Said, "Oh, okay, Rampart did this acting outside of Imperial
that like
structures."
just like him saying it, you kind of just want to be in the crowd being like, "Boo, you're
Yep.
lying." But like he was like, "Oh, thank you, Chuchi. You have helped us in a inner investigation that shows that Rampart has been acting on his own in this." But see, I'm really surprised because what did he say once there was some more trooper guards uh going to arrest him, and he starts to yell out,
I
"I
was
was
following
following
orders.
orders. I was following orders." I thought they were going to go a little bit deeper into that. Like, were they going to silence him right then and there? Was he going to yell out anybody in regards to who gave him those orders? So I was very interested by that.
Yeah,
Katie
I
knows
think it's a good
something.
thing to be interested about.
Katie knows something. She's smiling and laughing and saying nothing. Exactly. Exactly. But no, I think one of my favorite parts of this episode was Omega.
Mhm.
And the reason why I love Omega in this episode, again, you cannot forget that she is just a child. And
Yep,
because the innocence of a child can open up the mind of a corrupted adult. Um, we saw the representative of Camino. She was very cold. Like, oh, all those people that are out there like me inside in the galaxy, the very few of us left, they mean nothing to me. I don't care about them. Who cares? I'm surviving now, and I'm just gonna live my life. And that's when Omega is just like, "What is wrong with you? Like, how are you not upset about this? These are your people. They are my people." And, this individual's like, "Why are you so upset?" She's like, "Because I'm a freaking clone. Like, these my rights are in the balance here. Are they're going to be the ones that you guys are voting on and all of this stuff." And it just shows how wise she is as at such a young age. And I I just love the way they balance her character because when they want to make her into a badass alongside the Bad Batch, she can be a badass. And that's totally right because she has the individuals there training her.
yep,
But also because who she is as an individual, she doesn't know much. And that's why in the episode, she's asking a lot of questions. Hey, what's this? Hey, what's that? What does this mean? It's something a kid would literally do. and I really appreciate that attention to detail. Um, and I think it was a great part of the episode, because again, it it shows that Omega is again just a kid, but she is learning, and she's not just there as like dressing of like, oh, she's a female part of the team. No, like it's much more than that. It's more than just a check mark off this box that Star Wars may or may not need to do in their shows or whatever. So I really, really enjoyed that. There was also the whole point with the Bad Batch, their whole mission on this episode, given by Rex, was we need to get the uh, navigation log of the I can't remember the name of the vessel, uh,
The Venator.
the Venator, and also actual uh that data log actually carried footage of the Camino attack. So they're like, if we have this, that's undeniable proof that Rampart ordered this attack and we can stop this whole voting thing or whatever. And there was a again, they do these things that like are small details, but it makes you worry. They were climbing this ladder and Wrecker is so big, this giant propeller is just spinning at top speed, and it like barely nicks him. And he stops and he
Yep.
looks around like, "Oh, don't want to do that again." And it's just like, why? Like it makes the viewer question, "Oh crap, what's gonna happen to Wrecker? What's gonna happen to Wrecker?" Like that immediately goes to my mind when something like that happens. It's like, "Oh, that's a close call," but how close? Like that's where my
See,
mind goes.
that didn't hit me as hard. I did laugh when they jumped on the transport in the maintenance yard, and Rex is like, "He hasn't gotten over. He's not better about heights." And Hunter
It's
goes,
like, this
"This is
is
him
him
better."
better about heights.
Like that cracked me up. I felt like the Bad Batch's like Clone Force 99's portion of this was fairly average in terms of like, oh, get the mission done, get the data and everything. The best parts of this are 100% for the political structure in Coruscant. I love that we got to see Bale again. Um, and that I kind of wish we were getting to like see him become a father in instances, but again, this isn't his show. So it kind of worked out. Um, and then the other part that I thought was one of the better parts, was getting to see Echo kind of go out on his own. He's struggled since the Bad Batch, and Anakin and Rex recovered him, in the beginning of season 7 of the Clone Wars, and he struggled kind of trying to find his place, and I hope he finds his place with Rex.
I This was very heartbreaking because you had a moment in the beginning of this episode with Omega and Echo, and uh she's like, "Oh, do you want to try?" Or I can't remember what they were doing, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to climb up here? Do you want to try?" And he says, "No, I've been in isolation long enough." And you are reminded about all of the torture that he had for so many years.
Mhm.
And that is why, I mean, he's missing an arm. He is basically half cybernetic, it seems like. And it's it showed humanity in him at the end of this. And
Yep.
again, the portion of Omega that is still a child, she is like, "No, you're our family. We need to stay together. Like we don't leave any person behind. Like you need to come with us." And again, this is another learning experience for her. Like, hey, I've been through a lot, and I think this is the smartest way to go. This isn't a goodbye. We will see each other again. I'm very certain we will probably see Echo back in the mix of things by the end of this season. If not, I just feel like okay, there's something there, and we can expect an announcement anytime at the end of season 2 of the Bad Batch. But I I'm excited for Echo to progress as a character. Um, I think that although I love my Bad Batch, sometimes the 5 of them could, some of them are pushed to the waysides on episodes, and we don't see a whole lot. With them spread about a bit, just being one, it leaves room for more of these characters to have some screen time, to have some story time, which I can greatly appreciate.
Yeah. And no, I can't say that.
Ah, ah, damn it. Guys, we're getting so close every single episode. Every single episode we record, we have these little moments. I'm gonna break you, Katie. What, like it'll
No,
be the
you
last
won't.
it'll be the
No, you
last episode.
won't.
It'll be the last episode, but you'll say something. I mean, at that point, you'll be able to say everything. So
Yes. All I will say is that don't give up on your Clone Wars refresh just yet.
I cannot put that much content into my brain at the time that I am needing to crunch so much more content into my brain, Katie. Like, no, stop asking me to do more and more things every week. All right. Well, I think that is it. Again, this was the mid-season, so we do have another 8
8
episodes.
episodes. Yep.
Yeah, 8 episodes to go. We are 20 days away from Mandalorian season 3. There is so much content. And even before that, like we said, Jedi Battle Scars is going to be released. We will be recording our review off air, and we will be releasing that when the embargo date is open.
Well, yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna talk to you about something afterwards. But yes, the embargo for Battle Scars is up on February 22nd. So you can expect some sort of, hey, this was great, or something on social media, whether you follow Clay and I on Instagram at our Twitter handles, or on Twitter if Twitter is still working. You can expect some sort of social media reaction that Wednesday, and then the episode for the review will drop on the 24th. No, 23rd. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that is when you can expect things. For Cataclysm, because we do have Cataclysm, just to kind of give you guys a heads up, that embargo is up March 21st.
Yeah.
So you still got a month before we can kind of say anything on that. And then we never know how fast Clay is going to read. So
I have already said that the month of February, I'm taking a break from the comics reading challenge. So I have opened myself up to more reading. So if I can, and I will, because I've already planned on it, Jedi Battle Scars is going to be this week. And then I will power through for about 2 weeks on Cataclysm. So we could possibly start to think about a recording date in the very beginning of March. I'll go ahead and say that. I will say confidently that we can look into that.
but yes, y'all, Clay, where can they find you?
Of course, you can always find me not on Twitter. Um apparently. But for the time being, yes, on Twitter, I just posted in the GUA chat. It does look like every single user that is not subscribed to Twitter Blue is limited to 1,500 tweets. I don't know, per
A
month.
month.
So I guess I'm tweeting once a day. Uh, it also says that likes and retweets count in some capacity. So who knows? And DMs also, like, guys, you do not know how crazy the GUA chat can get sometimes.
No.
Joe could knows from experience that if something pops off one day, he is going through 200 messages uh at the end of the day. So it could pop off. But if you cannot find me on Twitter, You can find me on Instagram. Guys, I am really active over at the Geekverse Discord. So go ahead and I believe on any of the Geekverse videos here on the YouTube, they do link the Discord down below. Go check that out. Ask for an invite, and we can get you in there. There's a lot of fun. We talk movies, we talk shows, we talk video games. There is, because I know there's a huge audience here at Star Wars Alliance for the High Republic stuff. There is a channel that I have asked specifically for. There is a High Republic spoilers chat there where we can talk stuff there as well. So really fun time over on Discord. So go check me out there. And Katie?
Y'all, you can follow me on all the places. It's at Slice of Katie. Social media explodes. Then you can find my personal website, sliceofkatie.com, which will have all the places where you can find this podcast as well as my other podcast at Slice of Film One, which I told Mark I was gonna tweet on Monday and then I failed to tweet. So I'm just a failure. Y'all, it's a good thing Twitter's just going downhill. No, y'all, seriously. Slice of Film did just release an episode. It was with Clay. It was Mission Impossible 2. You can go check that out on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network feed. This show you can find on all the social media platforms. It is at Star Wars Alliance without the 8 in the words. Very important, don't forget it. That is also where you can contact us on Gmail, that username at gmail.com. And reach out about the show if you don't want to do social media. If you're like, I don't care where Twitter ends up, I'm gonna just drop it. Reach out to us on Gmail. Send us feedback on the show. And as always, y'all, you can ask any sort of question. We are always up for questions. And then of course, Clay, you can contact us at
Yes, of course. I have the number right here. I am not scrambling for it whatsoever. It is, of course, the Star Wars Alliance hotline, 1-830-538-4828. Remember the number, 1-830-538-4828. Please send us a voicemail and or text letting us know how you felt about this mid-season finale, any of the news topics that we spoke about today, or any questions that you might have for the show. And we will listen to it and or read it here live on Star Wars Alliance.
yes. So, y'all, I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching or panicking about Twitter. We will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.